Hello and welcome back to another episode of An Electrician Abroad. I'm here in beautiful Paris and just wanted to show you a few things about the apartment where I'm staying. First of all, nice little view down the street here. It's a very quiet area, but there is building work going on across the street. Of course, it's always my luck, so it's a bit noisy. But I wanted to show you distribution boards in France, because if we did it like this in England, we'd make our life a lot easier. So as you walk into the apartment, this is the entrance, this is the distribution board. You know what, I would first look down here, because that's the kind of place we would put it in England, in a stupid cupboard. But no, they know how to do things here in France. So we've got a lovely metal distribution board which is recessed into the wall. Everything's hidden away, it's nice and neat. You've got this metal door with a magnetic catch, so it just closes really nicely. And inside you've got a lovely spacious distribution board. As I look at this, there's some interesting things that I want to show you. So I'll flip the camera around and I'll show you what's going on in here. So first of all, we've got the electric meter here. So everything's built into this one cupboard, which is really cool. Electric meter. And then this is basically what we would call the main cutout fuse, but they don't have a stupid old-fashioned cartridge fuse to protect their installations. They actually have a 500 milliamp S-type RCD it's basically like an RCBO because it's got current protection in as well, and it's variable. So this one has been set to 45 amps, but you can see it's variable from between 15 to 45 amps. So I believe in France you pay based on your consummation. So for example, you'll pay more if you've got an installation rated at 45 amps than you would if it's rated at 15. But the DNO can just adjust your main supply according to what you need, and then you'll pay your tariff accordingly. Let me know in the comments if you know differently. But the great thing about this is obviously this serves as a main isolator as well. So literally if you want to work on the distribution board, say for isolation, you can just flick the main RCD off and the whole board is dead. Obviously you've got that extra protection because it's a 500 milliamp RCD S-type, so it's going to trip slower than the RCDs within the consumer unit, which I'll show you in a minute. It's double pole as well, which is good. Obviously it's got a test button, and it's all been nicely labelled up, so far pretty impressive. Then the distribution board here, what we've got is a triple RCD distribution board. It's made of plastic, it's a Schneider one, and I must say it looks pretty smart. It's got 4 screws in the corners to take the cover off, just plastic screws. Everything's kind of neatly labelled up. This is a newly renovated apartment, so this kind of shows the standard that probably new electrics are being installed to in France in new apartments. The casing of the distribution board is metal, and the wall is metal studs, so they've literally just screwed it into the metal studs either side. And all the cables presumably just come in the back. But the interesting thing about this is the RCDs are different. So you've got, this is the first RCD, and it's a 40 amp, 30 milliamp RCD, but it's a type AC, right? So bear that in mind when we look at the others. Now we've got circuits on this RCD, we've got electric heating throughout the apartment, basically convector heaters. So we've got individual circuits for each convector heater. Then these are the sockets, so we've got 16 amp radials for the sockets. Of course, no ring circuits here in France. Lighting circuits which are on 10 amp circuit breakers, and then this is a bell, so there is a doorbell at the front, and it's got its own little bell sounder here in the consumer unit, which is just a DIN mounted. It's mains voltage on a 2 amp MCB, so I think that's quite a nice little touch. Then the second RCD, we've got 63 amp 30 milliamp RCD with again, type AC, right? The reason it's 63 amp, I guess, is because it's got more stuff on it. Obviously, this has just got lights and 1 heater and a few sockets, but this one's got 3 heaters on. So you've got 3 20 amp radials here, 2 heaters, 1 for the washing machine, Then you've got sockets, then you've got the bathroom heater, which is on a 16, and then you've got 2 fans. Presumably one is the kitchen fan and one is the bathroom fan. But then this RCD is again 63 amp, but it's a type A RCD, which means that it can cope with pulsating DC currents as well. Now that is interesting, and I wonder if they've done that on purpose, and maybe all the boards, how they do them is they install one type A RCD and they put any potential sort of loads with higher DC earth leakage current on that RCD. So we've got, for that one, we've got a hob, which is on the 32. We've got a 20 amp radial for the oven. We've got a 20 amp radial for the freezer, and then a shower. I think that's actually just like the hot water tank for the shower. And then we've got sockets. And then we've got a separate radial just for a socket within the board, which is really nice. So that can act as like a construction socket. For example, if you're working in the apartment, you want to turn everything else off, you can leave this on and have your construction socket to work in the board. So again, that's a really nice little touch. Another interesting thing to note though is that we've got 3 kA MCBs. Now in the UK, most of our MCBs are 6 kA, or for commercial style ones, they're 10 kA, but here they're only 3. So I don't know what the supply system is here, but presumably they've got fairly high ZE readings for them to be able to cope with 3 kA MCBs. They're all type C as well, which is interesting. Obviously, usually in the UK, we use type B curve circuit breakers. So that's another interesting difference. And the RCDs have a test button, obviously like normal, but it just says test regularly. There's no actual test label to say test every 6 months or test every 3 months. It just says test regularly, which I think is just quite sensible, really. The meter itself is not sealed, so presumably this cover just will clip off, but I'm not going to take that off. But I just think this is a really cool idea, having a main RCD as the main switch and main cutout for the whole installation is pretty genius. There's also this QR code on here. Now I don't know what that takes you to. I tried it, but it doesn't seem to do anything for me. But I'm wondering if, for example, that could take you to like a copy of the certificate for the board or something. That would be really cool. Maybe something to think about as an idea for us to do in the UK. I don't know what the certification regulations are in France, if they have to have certificates for their boards or anything. And then here, this is cool. So this is the telephone splitter as well. So you've got this incoming DTI. I'm not quite sure what that actually is, but it's some kind of DIN mountable telephony device. Then you've got a splitter here. And then this is sort of like a mini patch panel. So you've got your outgoing, they look like, they're just kind of telephone cables, really. They're kind of a little bit different looking to what we use. I mean, they're not been terminated in the nicest way, but it's basically like a little patch panel, so you can patch in your telephone sockets. Then you've got this, which looks like a splitter for TV signal maybe, but obviously that's not in use. And then here, it looks like you've got some kind of main earthing terminal as well, which again is not in use, but it's quite a cool little thing to have. And then here is a flexible conduit. So they tend to run everything in flexible conduit in France. They just run all the flexible conduits into the back boxes, and then you can just pull in new wires when you need to. This is obviously just a spare, but they've used this kind of metal pull wire. It's like a little steel solid pull wire, which is quite cool as well. So overall, I think this is a really nice way of doing things, and it's just so neat, you know, to be able to have your board like that in the entranceway. It doesn't look horrible, it's just there, it blends in, but it's easily accessible, perfect height for electricians to work at. Why don't we do this in the UK? I would love to know why we do things so differently in the UK and why we make our life so much more complicated. For new builds, why don't we just do this as standard, you know? Why couldn't there be some kind of requirement for that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts as always. And if you've enjoyed today's episode of Electrician Abroad, hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on future videos. Thanks for watching and have a great day.